Now let's see fileless malware concepts. Fileless malware, also known as non-malware, infects legitimate software, applications, and other protocols existing in the system to perform various malicious activities. It leverages any existing vulnerabilities to infect the system. It mostly resides in volatile memory locations such as a running process, system registry, and service areas. It injects malicious code into the running processes such as Microsoft Word, Flash, Adobe PDF Reader, JavaScript, WMI, and PowerShell. So, reasons for using my fileless malware in cyber attacks: it's stealthy in nature. It exploits legitimate system tools. Living off the land exploits default system tools. Trustworthy because it uses tools that are frequently used and trusted. So, fileless propagation techniques used by attackers are phishing emails, legitimate applications, native applications, infect through lateral movement, malicious websites, registry manipulation, memory code injection, and script based injection. Attackers often use scripts in which binaries or shell code are obfuscated and encoded. Such script-based attacks might not be completely fileless. The scripts are often embedded in documents as email attachments. So taxonomy of fileless malware threats. Fileless malware threats are divided into different categories. Type 1, no file activity performed. Exploits the vulnerability and installs backdoor in volatile memory. Another example may involve malicious code embedded in compromised device firmware. Indirect file activity. This type of malware achieves fileless presence on a target machine using files. For example, an attacker can inject a malicious PowerShell command into the WMI repository to configure a filter that executes periodically. Type 3 requires files to operate. This type of malware requires files to operate, but it does not execute attacks from those files directly. For example, an attacker exploits a document with an embedded macro, Java flash file, or exe file to inject malicious payloads into the target host and then maintains persistence without using any files. Classification of fileless malware threats based on their point of entry. Exploits can be file based exploit or network based exploit. In file based, malware exploits vulnerabilities in executables, Flash, Java, documents, etc., and uses shell code to inject a malicious code or payload into the memory. It initially uses files to make initial entry into the system, and later it does not need any files after it is injected into the memory. Similarly, network-based malware exploits vulnerabilities of network communication protocols like SMB to deliver malicious payload into the memory. Device-based malware infects firmware on network cards, hard disks, etc. CPU-based malware rewrites USB firmware with malicious code that directly interact with OS and installs malicious payload on the target machine. Also, it uses BIOS-based firmware or perform hypervisor-based attacks that exploits virtual machines. So after exploits, we'll see execution and injection. File-based malware exploits DLLs, LNK files, etc. to inject malicious payloads into the process memory or into already running processes. Similarly, macro-based malware exploits macros to inject malicious payload into process memory. Script-based malwares are also same. Disk-based malwares rewrites boot record with malicious code, which in turn installs memory.